The city of Seattle was waking up to a soft drizzle, the kind that painted every streetlight gold. On the corner of Pine Street, a man in torn jeans and a faded flannel shirt stood under the awning of an old bookstore. His shoes were worn out, his beard rough, and his hands, once used to sign million-dollar contracts, were now stained with dirt and oil. His name was Ethan Cole. Age, 28, status, one of the youngest self-made billionaires in America. But nobody knew that. For the past 2 weeks, Ethan had been living like an ordinary man, or rather, less than ordinary. He ate at cheap diners, slept in motels that smelled like cigarettes, and walked everywhere. It wasn't some publicity stunt or a bet. He just needed to remember what life felt like before the money, before the boardrooms, before people smiled only when he was watching, before he forgot what real meant. That morning, he entered the little bookstore, shaking off the rain. The warm smell of old paper and coffee greeted him. Behind the counter stood a young woman with auburn hair tied messily in a bun, reading a worn copy of The Great Gatsby. She looked up and smiled. "Hey there, can I help you find something?" Her voice was soft, genuine, not the fake politeness he heard from assistants and investors every day. Ethan hesitated. Just looking." She nodded and went back to her book. He wandered around, pretending to browse. His clothes drew a few stares from customers, but she didn't seem to care. When he brought an old paperback to the counter, he noticed her name tag. "Lily, that's $2, she said. Ethan reached into his pocket and realized he only had a crumpled dollar and some coins. I guess I'm short." Lily tilted her head, studying him for a second. Not with pity, but kindness. "It's fine, you can pay me next time." He blinked. "You sure?" "Yeah," she smiled. "It's just a book. Everyone deserves to read something good." That sentence hit him deeper than she could ever know. Everyone deserves something good. Ethan thanked her quietly and walked out into the rain, clutching the book as if it were gold. Over the next few days, Ethan kept coming back. Sometimes he pretended to look for books. Sometimes he just wanted to see her smile. Lily worked long hours, often skipping lunch. She didn't talk much about herself, but Ethan noticed the little details. How she hummed when it rained, how her hands were always covered in ink, how she looked at life like it still had color. One afternoon, as the rain poured harder, Ethan offered to help her close the store. "You don't have to," she said, surprised. "I've got time," he shrugged. They laughed as they tried to pull down the jammed metal shutter. When it finally slammed shut, both were soaked, laughing breathlessly. That was the first time Lily really looked at him. Not his clothes, not his unshaven face, but him. "You know," she said softly, "you don't seem like someone who belongs out there on the streets." Ethan's heart pounded. "And what makes you say that?" She smiled faintly. "The way you talk, the way you listen, like someone who used to have everything and lost it." For a moment, he couldn't breathe. She had no idea how close to the truth that was. That night, they shared a cup of instant coffee on the store's old wooden steps. Rain dripped from the awning, the streetlights flickered, and the world felt quiet. Lily told him about her dreams, opening a small library for kids, teaching them to love stories the way she did. "I don't want to be rich," she said. "I just want to live a life that matters." Ethan looked at her, and for the first time in years, he felt seen, not as Ethan Cole, CEO of Cole Industries, but as a man who once forgot how to feel. He didn't know it yet, but that night was the start of something that would change both their lives, a love born from truth, not fortune. A love that would soon be tested when she discovered who he really was. 2 weeks had passed since Ethan first walked into Lily's bookstore. The city had grown colder, and so had his secret. Every day he spent with her made it harder to hide the truth. He wasn't the man she thought he was. He wasn't poor. He wasn't lost. He was a billionaire pretending to be one of them. One of the people who still fought for every dollar. And yet, with her, he felt more human than he had in years. One evening, after closing, Lily invited him to dinner at a tiny diner across the street. She brought homemade soup in an old thermos, apologizing for it not being fancy. Ethan smiled. "It's perfect." They sat in a corner booth, steam rising from the cups, the smell of coffee and rain mixing in the air. Lily told him stories about her late father, who used to fix cars and quote poetry. She spoke with warmth, with love, with the kind of honesty that money could never buy. When she asked about him, Ethan froze. I used to work with machines, he said quietly. Then, I lost everything. It wasn't a lie, it just wasn't the whole truth. Lily reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. Then maybe you didn't lose everything, she said softly. You're still here. Ethan looked into her eyes and realized she meant it. She didn't care about who he was or what he had. She cared about him. The next morning, everything changed. A black SUV pulled up outside the bookstore. Two men in suits stepped out, holding an umbrella. Lily was unlocking the door when she saw them approach Ethan. Mr. Cole, sir, the board is waiting for your approval on the acquisition, one of them said, offering a tablet. Lily froze. Mr. Cole, she whispered. Ethan's stomach dropped. The street went silent except for the sound of rain hitting the pavement. He turned toward her, soaked, guilty, afraid. Lily, I can explain. She took a step back. You're him? Ethan Cole? The billionaire? He nodded slowly. Her face fell. You lied to me. I didn't mean to, he said, voice trembling. I just needed to find something real again. I didn't want you to see the money. I wanted you to see me. Tears filled her eyes. Do you know what it feels like to trust someone who never told you the truth? He tried to reach for her hand, but she pulled away. I thought you were like me, she whispered, but you were testing me. It wasn't a test, he said. It was the only way I knew to feel human again. Lily shook her head. You could have just been honest. She turned and walked into the store, closing the door behind her. Days passed. The bookstore stayed open, but Ethan didn't come. He returned to his penthouse overlooking the skyline, the same view he once thought proved he had it all. But it only made him feel small now. Meetings, calls, business trips, nothing filled the silence she left behind. Every success felt hollow without her laughter echoing in it. Finally, one stormy afternoon, Ethan walked back to the bookstore, this time dressed in a black coat, no bodyguards, no cars, just him. Lily looked up from the counter, eyes tired but calm. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said, but I needed to tell you that what I felt, every word, every moment, was real. You're the first person who ever saw me without the weight of my name. You made me remember who I was before the money. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she looked at the book he'd once bought from her, The Great Gatsby, still sitting by the register. You know, she said softly, Gatsby spent his whole life chasing something that was never real. I just wanted to make sure you're not doing the same. Ethan's voice broke. I'm not chasing dreams anymore, Lily. Just you. She looked at him, really looked. And for the first time, she saw the same man who'd helped her close the store in the rain, who'd drunk cheap coffee and laughed like life was simple again. She stepped around the counter, her eyes glistening. I didn't fall in love with a billionaire, she whispered. I fell in love with the man who had nothing and still smiled. Ethan's chest tightened, and that man will never stop loving you. Lily hesitated, then reached for his hand. Their fingers intertwined, like two lives finally finding their way home. Outside, the rain began to fall again, soft, forgiving, and new. And for the first time in a long time, Ethan Cole didn't feel rich because of what he owned. He felt rich because of who stood beside him.